Hi guys, Jay Smith here. Welcome to the AskGolfNut channel. Welcome to part 2. If you haven't already seen part 1 though, you can click up there. There's a little card, click on there for part 1. If you can't see it though, because you're watching on TV or something like that, if you pop on my channel listing, part 1 will be directly under this video. So you can have a look at that one if you want to look at the looks, feel and performance into a simulator. But part 2, let's have a look to see if there's a winner in overall performance, peak heights, descent angles, ball speeds, etc. And also, more importantly, forgiveness. When you whack it all over the face and you mishit it from time to time, which one will help you more than the other? Let's go see how the Srixon ZX5 got on when I hit it a load of times up against the Pro 245. 3 different swing speeds and also forgiveness testing where I hit them equally around the face to see which one is more forgiving than the other. So quickly we can see on the 70 miles an hour, the blue is the 70 miles an hour, we've got ball speed and the club head data underneath, so we've got ball data on top. 245, 97.3 to 95.6. We are talking exactly the same club head speed you can see underneath, 70.5 to 70.5. So a slight increase of ball speed. Again, the 245 is full on hollow bodied and it has that Cortec face, that very springy Cortec face. And generally speaking, remember, it is 1 degree stronger in loft, so you're going to get a little bit more help from that. Not much, 1 degree is not much whatsoever, but you can see by down on the loft there, 26.1 to 26.8, it's 0.7 of a degree, not 1, so I've kind of helped out a little bit, but yeah, within 0.7 degree, it's such a small amount. Spin, basically 4,000 to 4,1, so it's 140 or so RPM difference, 136 or whatever it is difference between these two. Well within the amount of standard deviation of spin, so I wouldn't worry about that one whatsoever, but it is a pattern that we'll see going to 80, 90 miles an hour that the spin just ekes out a little bit when it comes to a slightly lower spin on the 245. 136 to 133 yards carry and 22 yards in the air, 22 yards in the air, no different, and 39.9 to 40.4, there's no difference in descent angle whatsoever. One thing to say, guys, that if you are swinging at 70 miles an hour and you're in this kind of category, absolutely I would not be going down the route of 6-iron, because your 7-iron's going at 40 degrees, and if your 7-iron's going at 40 degrees, your 6-iron is going to go shallower than that. I'd be transitioning into something like a hybrid or a even more helpful iron to try and get that golf ball launching more, because if not, you're going to start going into a green a little bit too shallow and it's going to hit somewhere and just disappear out the back. Club head speed, as you can see there, 70.5 to 70.5, and efficiency is 1.8 to 1.36. You can see a slight difference in efficiency due to the Cortec face, slightly springier face, and also a 0.7 of a degree difference, although 0.7 degree in loft is not going to make hardly any difference whatsoever. Attack angle, club path and face to path is very close when it comes to its delivery, and even strike was within a very small amount as well. Let's go see what happens when you go to 80 miles an hour, the medium speed. So 109.6 to 245 is 108.9 against the ZX5. So even though the ZX5 has been swung 0.2 of a mile an hour faster than the 245, it has a deficiency of 0.7 mile an hour. There's about 1 mile an hour difference between these, very small amounts, but it's a consistent thing that the 245 is slightly faster in ball speed, but then it does have a slightly less of a spin rate. It's 4.521 against 4.794, so around about 270 RPM off the top of my head. And launch is doing quite well, even though there is 1 degree difference. You can see down the bottom there, 25.5 degrees to 26.5 degrees, there's your 1 degree static. It's actually launching within 0.4, so that's the tungsten in the 245 helping to gear the golf ball in launch, trying to help launch as much as you can do. Sometimes you have to keep an eye on the spin rate, because it does have a tendency sometimes to take a little bit of spin off within 270 RPM. Again, that is within standard deviation of spin, so but there is a pattern to it, so I would say that's actual. 159 to 157, so 2 yards extra when it comes to the old distance for 245. Nothing really that I'd be making a buying decision on. 29 yards in the air, 30 yards in the air, 44.8 to 45.1. Again, 29 and 30, that could be the difference between half a yard or 1.4 yards because of the rounding. Although if you look at the descent angle being extremely close, I would say that's much closer to the half a yard than it ever is the 1.4. So within reason, peak height is exactly the same. Club head speed, as you can see there, I swung the ZX5 fractionally faster, 0.2 of a mile an hour, 1.37 to 1.36, such a very small amount, but again, it's a pattern that the 245 has a fractionally more efficient face, a slightly more springier face. Tack angle, club path, and more importantly, face to path is exactly the same. Face to path is bang on. let's go over to the 90 miles an hour. This is where, if you were swinging at 90 miles an hour, would I honestly say to go for one of these two? Potentially not, especially not the 245 on the basis that he's now doing 180 yards of carry against 176. Now 176 is about 12 or so yards further than my 7 iron, and that's for the ZX5. If you go to the 245 going 180, that's definitely past my 6 iron, and that's because of loft, that's because of fast face and stuff, because remember, these are lengths of a 7 iron, so it's not shafts that have got longer and obviously head speeds going up, etc. But 122.1, 121.4, a very slight increase again of ball speed to that of the 245, even though I swung the ZX5.1 of a mile an hour faster. Launch is very good. Spin, you can see it's starting to stretch his gap now, about 300 or so RPM gap now between the Pro 240. I mean, 300 RPM is not a lot, guys. Let's be honest, it's not, and it's still within standard deviation of spin. So, but there is a pattern there. So even though there is, and it's within that, I would say you could argue statistical blurring, but in this there is a difference because there's been a constant difference throughout the speeds. Efficiency is 1.36 to 1.35. Again, a very fraction difference when it comes to efficiency. The 245 has a bit of a faster face. Attack angles, club paths, and more importantly, facer paths are very, very good. And loft was within 0.7 of a degree. And face impact, again, is very, very close. How well do these work when you hit them from weird and wonderful spots on the face? First, to know how well they work from weird and wonderful parts, we need to know how they work from the middle. 245 first, we got a basically 0-0 strike. Face which is slightly open to a loft which is 25 degrees, 1.37. If you look at the ZX5, we've got exactly basically the same strike with a very small amount. We have a face which is not quite so open, but we have a loft which is fractionally more. So one would cancel out the other one, and we have a 1.36. So they're basically within reason when you look at loft for loft adjustment and you just measure the face. The ZX5 is 0.01 less quick than the Pro 245. Again, that's the Cortec face, and the 245 is a very springy face, trying to get as much distance as you possibly can do. It is a player's distance iron. That's what it's designed to do. So it's winning by 0.01. If you then go heel, like a properly good heel, 15 mil heel, 1 mil high for the 245. We have a path which is 0, face which is basically 0 as well, 0.5 close. Loft of 27 degrees at 1.34 from a 15 millimeters heel, 16 mil gross. If we then go to a ZX5, 15 mil, 4 mil low, so 3 mil worse on strike, but that is it, 3 mil. We have a face which is 0.1, so basically 0, and a loft of 29 degrees, so fractionally more loft than that of the 245. It is a small amount, 2 degrees, but there you go, 1.31. Now, in reality, I would say that if you were to add the 2 degrees or take the 2 degrees off when it comes to the ZX5, to make it a little bit more efficient, because obviously displayed too much loft is more deflection is less efficient, that's the idea. If you do the calculation, you are going to be gaining 0.01 or so back from that, and so you're looking at 1.32, and you compare that to 1.34, it's a small amount, but again, it's a slight win to that of the 245. The reason is the tungsten. If you'd have done this test with the 225, then what you'd find is, because the tungsten obviously in the 225 was nowhere near as heavy, nowhere near as big as the fact of the upgraded 245, you're not going to quite get the same amount of help from the old 225 as opposed to the 245. So the 245 is winning a bit more now when it comes to it. If you had to push me on it, definitely I would say on the old 225 against ZX5 would win. That upgrade in tungsten has made a little bit of a difference. Let's go low on the face now. 245 is 10 mil low, 4 mil heel, which is a little bit thin, shall we say. Face is open by 2 degrees and loft of 27.6, 1.33 efficiency, which is not bad at all. If we then move that to the ZX5, we're basically 10 mil low, 4 mil heel again, exactly the same strike. Face which is 1.3 open to 1.9, so it's slightly less open than the 245 was, and there is a fraction more loft. It's 0.8 of a degree more loft. Again, one would cancel out the other, so you got 1.30 to 1.33. Again, the tungsten in the bottom of the 245 is winning. Now, are we saying in any way that the Srixon doing a 1.30 is bad? No, not at all. And we are talking about it's delivering too much loft from its standard, from its normal averages, 26, yeah, to about 26 degrees where its averages, so I'm delivering more loft. And the fact that that 14mm strike off of the middle, low and heel, is not good, but it's doing really quite well. It's not losing that much in the way of distance, but you can just see how the 245 with the tungsten is just a little bit more helpful. But let's go toe now on the Pro 245, 0mm low, 14mm toe, so just a standard normal toey shot. Face which is 1 degree closed and loft is 26.6, 1.34. If you then go 14mm toe, 0mm low again, within reason, exactly the same as the 245. Face is 0.7 closed rather than 1.0 closed, so within reason again, 0, and loft is within 0.2, so there's nothing in it whatsoever. 1.32 to 1.34, so again, it's a fraction, not much whatsoever. And in no way is this saying that the ZX5 is bad. It's doing really, really well. 1.32 off a 14mm toe with 26. I mean, it's a player's distance iron. We are not talking about game improvement irons, guys. These are player's distance irons. The heads aren't massive. When it comes to the looks of the ZX4 or the JPX series from Mizuno, you are talking about the center of gravity is further away from the face, it's lower and further down. Everything on those carpet golf clubs is forgiveness, launch, speed and everything. These players' distance irons are supposed to look a certain way and they do it really very, very well. Conclusion when it comes to these two, let's do performance first. Performance, like for like, the 245 has a fractionally faster face, and so therefore it will out-carry that of the ZX5 marginally. Loft for loft adjusted, it is marginal. Would I make a buying decision on the couple of yards that you're going to gain from a 245? Well, that's up to you guys. For me, obviously, it doesn't bother me if I'm going to be out-carrying 1-3 yards more than the other. Again, if 3 yards are important to you, you can make your own decision on that one. Forgiveness. I would have to say that if you look at everything, low, heel, toe, out the middle, comparing everything, the 245 just wins, and that has to do with tungsten. That is it. When I say wins, I'm talking about such a small amount, like 0.01 here, 0.02 here. Would I make a buying decision based on that personally? For me, no, not really. Looks, I prefer the looks for 245 based on its bladey looking aesthetics. When you look at the ZX5 is a much busier head. It's a slightly bigger club head when it comes to size. Again, some people will like a bigger club head size, real estate behind a golf ball, and so it's more confidence inspiring, so there you go. Other people like something smaller. This is a subjectivity part, and so when it comes to what I like, ignore it completely. But when it comes to feel, I actually prefer the ZX5. The ZX5 fractionally feels nicer for me. I like a softer, a duller, a quieter hit. I'm a blade player, so I like that. I don't like game improvement irons that with a firecrackery hit. And so actually, I would go down the route of ZX5 on this one, personally for me. Again, this is subjective thoughts and feelings and opinions, so ignore them completely and just go exactly what you would like from your own golf equipment. So hope you liked the video. If you did, go on, thumbs up, like button down there, go on, give it one of those because YouTube likes, so do I down there. Also, it's a subscribe button. That's the most important button of the lot because it's free and it is great for the channel if you could subscribe, so thank you. And next to that is a bell icon, that's a notification bell. If you click that one, that will let you know next time I upload another video. Hope you're well. We'll see you again soon.